my thing I'm supposed to read.
You haven't memorized it yet?
The last time you have to read it.
It's the last time, I know. All right, so this is the Recreation Commission meeting on Tuesday, June 8th. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Recreation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so by following the guidelines on the Town of Southborough's website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we aren't able to do so, despite our best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So we will call the meeting to order at 6:05. And I had sent you guys, I had dropped you guys the meeting minutes from the 20th. Should be in your inbox from May.
Right.
So we can approve those.
You need a motion for that? Motion to approve?
Yes.
So move.
All right.
You have a second?
I didn't
That took
attend
a
that
while.
one. I didn't attend that meeting, so I don't think I can.
All right, I will second it.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
we know
can second it too.
All right.
Sorry.
And then, so roll call vote, Hanson, yes.
Nixon, yes.
O'Day, yes.
I wasn't there. I don't count.
Oh,
Technically you can, or you can abstain from the vote, either one.
I will abstain
Okay.
since you have enough.
I still have quorum. Cool. All right. So Tim, you want to take it away then, the program updates?
Yeah, not much has changed since last month, just kind of general stuff. So RAP is officially done for the school year. So we had one extra day we had to reschedule because of weather. Went off, no problem. So it was a great 4.5 weeks of programming, all positives. We didn't run it again. We didn't run into a single issue from registration to vendors to anything like that. I think everybody was just super pumped to be back out. And I think we're going to turn a profit about $4,500. So that's just good. It's just good after the months and months and months of us struggling with this. So good momentum heading into the summer, good momentum heading into the fall. We're starting to talk with vendors a little bit already about the fall. They're reaching out. So once Alex gets back in, I'm sure she'll be faced with that in the next month or so. For summer camp, again, not much to update on. Registrations are coming in, which are turning into waiting lists. That's pretty much all it is, just people getting their kids on the wait list. The sessions that we had space on are dwindling. I think we only have a handful overall left between all the camps. So that's just great. We are actually exploring right now opening up more spots. Now that the restrictions are lifting, it's giving us a little more comfort in what we can do. And we overstaff purposely knowing that we were probably going to have something in place. But now that some of those expectations are not actually in a good way, not reality, we may have the opportunity to open up more slots. So working on that this week. I'm going to meet with the directors tomorrow to make sure they're comfortable with it before we go with it. But it is something we're looking at. Like I just said, directors, camp supervisors are coming in office. They started last week. So they have been in office, starting planning, starting to organize groups. We got our supplies ordered. Those started to be delivered yesterday and today. And just looking at, they made daily schedules. So we're piecing it all together right now. But Supervisors are coming in. They'll be coming in again tomorrow night, so we will have another night of work together. Alex is actually going to be coming in. She volunteered to come in even though she's on leave. She'll be coming in tomorrow night as well to kind of get a lay of the land with what to expect. She is due back from her leave in about a week and a half. So good on her wanting to not get punched in the face with it on the way back, kind of ease herself back into it. So they'll be here tomorrow working with facilities at the schools to do some coordinating of the rooms around where we're going to be for use if it rains. But also, we have to have that auxiliary space. God forbid we have to quarantine a kid or a staff member or something of that nature. So just working with them on that. They've been super cooperative, easy as always since I've been here. So just finalizing those little details. Let's see what else I got. CITs, that was the other piece of it that was trickling in. They're still trickling in, but a little more rapidly. So CIT weeks are starting to fill up, which is always great to see. We're averaging about 10 per camp per week right now. That's about 20 CITs a week for us across the 2 camps. So that's going to be a big help. A lot of familiar faces from what I'm being told. So it'll be good to get some returners, which will hopefully turn into staff in the coming years. And that's all I have for program stuff, I think. Oh, field hockey camps. We opened registration for our field hockey clinics. Those are filling pretty well. They have a pretty high max, so I'm not thinking we're going to sell out, but we're about 20 kids in the day one, and then we're doing an evening one too, based on what we were hearing. And that's kind of slowly filling up. So bringing back the field hockey clinics after canceling them last year. So that'll be down at 9/11. So excited for that. Our Ninja Warrior camp is sold out with a waiting list. So that's awesome for a first time camp week or program, first time summer program. So excited on that. And I think we have our pre-K ones. All those are sold out again for the summer with the exception of T-ball, which I think has 2 spots left. So that will likely fill up. And then Fast Athletics is doing kind of a multi-sport half-day program for us as well. Not sold out, but we got like 20 to 30 kids in that one. So we're booked up. So we're good on that. And it's not really I guess it's under general department. Field permits for the summer started last week. They opened last week. So got all those in today with what we've had. Not a lot right now. Our usual lacrosse crews for like Massachusetts and Excel, kind of the private clubs. Algonquin reached out. They're looking for field space, for a stable field space for their boosters for soccer.
Good.
So
I wanted to check on that, Tim. I told them to get to you sooner rather than later, so I was
Yeah.
hoping they reached out.
yeah, they reached out to Northborough, and Allie called me. I guess Northborough's fields are going under repair, and the ones that aren't, they're resting. So she passed them our way, which was wonderful. So looks like we'll have a good little thing there. Algonquin girls soccer reached out today. So that was boys soccer. Girls soccer reached out. One of the parents of the captains reached out. They want to do captains practices. So we're working with them and boosters again on that one. Men's league softball's coming back. They start up Thursday. So DPW was out there getting the field ready for them. Some new material out at Woodward. So the lights will be used again at Choate. Tuesdays and Thursdays over there. Northborough, Southborough girls softball are gathering interest right now for summer league. I don't have this written down. I'm trying to just my memory. So they're looking, I think, Sundays and then midweek stuff. So that will be good. And then Central Lacrosse is coming back right now, just at 9/11. They usually have a big take at Lundblad, but they were originally at St. Mark's, so they may be going back there. I haven't talked to them about that. And then that Southborough Youth Development Soccer Program by those Algonquin graduates, they're coming back at Lundblad, so 2 weeks of that. So standard stuff. Waiting for the men's leagues for the soccer to pour in. I'm sure we're going to get them soon. but pretty standard. I'm excited. Men's league's coming back for softball. I know that was missed greatly. I think they're fielding 4 or 5 teams, so they should have a pretty good season. But that is underway. So that is my department update. And I guess I will go right to the lighting updates. Looking at this, so the lights are up at Mooney. I hope you guys have seen driving by. They look wonderful. They look beautiful. The holdup right now with getting those connected, 2 things. One, it's grid. We're working with grid. Paperwork. Got more of it today. More requests from them about easements and things of that nature. So working with Lori and building and the selectman's office to get them what they need. The other holdup though is the cabinet itself, the enclosure is just delayed. I guess that's a COVID affected deal. So those are really back ordered. So they don't want to pull wires without being able to enclose them. So they're waiting for their enclosure. Everything is set up out there for trenching, all the silt socks, everything like that is out and ready. So as soon as they can start going, they're going to. So just waiting on that enclosure. That will get the trenching going and the wiring pulled from the posts. And then once it's all connected to the enclosure, we just gotta wait for that pole and they will connect it. For tennis courts, down there today, they marked out all the electrical underground. So they're starting to kind of mark out the space. So they should be there very soon to get that rolling. Same deal with Mooney. They plan on getting everything hookup ready. So that you should be seeing some movement down there. Storage container got delivered yesterday. So all their equipment's making its way down to Neary. So that project should go quick again, hopefully. And we should be seeing movement on that, some activity next couple of days. And then Calandra Field got approved at town meeting with no questions. So that was the most I've ever prepared, I think, for a town meeting. I sat down the whole time. So it was wonderful. So that's funded. So we'll tackle that over the summer bid wise. I don't want to do a build until the fall because we're looking at natural turf. So we want a growing season. It would just be a waste of time to try to plant that over the summer and drench it with water. So we're going, nothing is out in the field now. There's no request to use it. So watering wise, they're going to cut back because they know it's going to get ripped up. We're just going to put enough on it to keep the dust down pretty much because it does turn into a dust bowl. But if we do get a user out there, obviously we'll pump it up a little bit more, but we'll keep that status quo until we know, until we rip it up. So that's what I got. Any questions?
No.
Don, did you go to town meeting? I didn't see you there.
I did not. I was actually covering, I can't even tell you, soccer game or something, because it got moved back. It got moved into the season, so
Yeah.
I can't remember where I was. But did you go before or after the clock tower? Because it might have been folks were all exhausted if it was after the clock tower.
I went right before, so I think people were like, all right.
See, we just need to make sure that whenever we need something, there's something controversial on the agenda.
Yeah, it was great. And then after that, the townhouse went. And again, no questions, 2.2 million, no problem. So, but that's all right. Rachel, did you go
I did not go. I was at work.
on a Saturday? Boo.
Yes.
Right. Cool.
I
That's what
had fun there all day in the heat. Oh.
Yeah, right. It was the first hottest day of the
Oh,
Of the year.
It was miserable, yeah. So
brutal. Brutal. Yeah, I was in the back tent with the fire department. It was wonderful. Had little shades.
nice. Yes. Cool. All right. So then the other, Tim, I was able to update our agenda. So the next thing I had on the agenda was to discuss Liberty Field. So there's so a resident who is also part of master plan, I believe, has been raising the conversation around adding a playground to Liberty Field. And it's well, I get the impression that it has it's raised a lot of eyebrows. There's been conversations, they've taken it to the Conservation Commission. And I think Tim's been in communication with them, answering some questions about it, but at the same time, it hasn't actually come before the commission yet. Like, we haven't actually met or talked to them about this. So wanted to, maybe Tim, you can bring us a little bit up to speed where we are. And then I think it's probably, well, we'll start there and then I can add my 2 cents and then see what other people think as well.
Yeah, so it might have been last meeting or even the meeting prior to that. I mentioned that someone from Master Plan Committee reached out to talk about Liberty because we were under the impression at that point, potentially South Union was going to be sold. So we were going to lose the playground, or the playground had to be moved. So the individual who reached out floated the idea of Liberty, of utilizing Liberty to house a playground, to kind of develop that parcel on the south side to meet that need that we were looking for. And so I told her we were interested, definitely interested. I think it was worth a conversation of that. I did send you guys, I think, the email chain, so I'm not sure if you all had a chance to read through that, but my concerns were in there, especially about price, the condition of the equipment, and what moving it would really do to the liability pretty much of the town. So I had a lot of concerns about it, but again, as I showed in my emails, we were open to discussing it, I think, as a commission, as we all talked about, and I did invite her in over the summer. She kind of took that and ran with it, and she went to the Conservation Commission to ask permission to do it. So just to see, because conservation holds the restriction on that, the restriction on that, to see if it was doable. And through her, I sent you guys that link too. And through that meeting, it seems like there's a lot of, not a lot, but there was some discussion with the selectmen about some federal funds coming down the pipeline that could be used for it, and so on and so forth. So it kind of took me by surprise when I heard that, took the selectmen by surprise, took everybody at town hall by surprise. So that was fun. So I guess I have a couple thoughts on it, obviously. One, now that South Union's not being sold, as of today, and I don't know what they're going to do with the building. I know there's alternative ideas that are being floated with affordable housing and things of that nature. The playground's staying. The playground's going to stay for probably quite some time, but before potentially we have to even think about ripping it out or rebuilding or moving or anything like that. So I don't even know if this discussion with Liberty and developing that site is even feasible to even spend time on. My other piece of it too is I want to be sure that if this is the path that is favorable, that it comes from us, I guess. I want to make sure that, it's our field, obviously, that one, the project is coming from our department, our commission. So it's done right and done proper, and, similar to the townhouse and everything that needs to be done to make sure it's just a proper playground and proper space for the town. But also, I don't know if we just want to give up a field. We once Calander's done, arguably Lindblad, we'll be at 100%, and we can start resting, and we can start redirecting and start doing everything we need to do that we've been trying to do for quite some time, obviously before I was here. So I would be hesitant to just give up that field. And I know there were some things in the meeting that were said that just weren't true, unfortunately, about, if we put a playground there, a full-size soccer field will still be housed. Well, it's not even a full-size soccer field to begin with, I don't believe. So it would make it even smaller. And it is true, I did say that some of the use of that could be redirected to other fields, because we really mainly use it for Special Olympic soccer and then just some auxiliary random space for other programs. So that part of it was true, but I'm just hesitant, I guess, of giving up a full field when we've been working so hard to get all of them online and rotating. rotating. So
Mhm.
those are really my main concerns. But my biggest thing was I think we need to get ahead of this in some way, and kind of run interference to make sure that it doesn't get spin out of control, kind of away from our grasp. So that's my take on it. I don't know, Jen, if you have any context to add to that.
Yeah, I guess I feel like the context of even consider Liberty Field was when we thought that South Union might have been sold, right? I think that like through your research that it was, I believe it was gonna cost like what, 50,000 to move it, and it voids the playground warranty and our insurance. Like right there for me is like a non-starter, right? I also like, so I do agree, and I believe if we go back and look at like the field resting, like Liberty was gonna come back into play. Like when we're resting fields, we wanted to be able to have that option to be able to move people over to Liberty Field, especially some of the younger kids, maybe. But I guess bigger, if I just like step back and think about like all the things that we would like to achieve, or even looking at like the master plan, like the goals we put in there, like another playground wasn't actually even on the radar, right? So yeah, I guess like I would almost say like I feel like this isn't something we should be pursuing right now with everything else going on or other priorities that are higher. Especially because like, I mean, the building's not being sold immediately and we can't move the playground. So I feel like there's not a problem to solve for. And if we're gonna pick a project to spin up, adding another playground to town probably wouldn't be where I would focus my efforts, but
We also have a playground on the south side too with at Finn as well, right? So it's not like there's a lack of playgrounds on that side.
yeah, I mean, like Finn Playground, they can't use during school hours, but that's why the playground was put in at the rec center to provide access
Yeah.
there. And then on like I guess north of Route 9, we've got Fayetteville and the townhouse. And then we've also got the school playgrounds at Neary and Woodward.
Yep.
So my gut says like we're not hurting for playgrounds, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, I agree with your comment on, look, if that building's disposition is not imminent, then let's not solve a problem that doesn't exist yet, right? And the warranty is a fairly huge issue, and from that perspective, I mean, shoot, if you turn that into some sort of affordable housing, you probably could continue to keep a playground there.
right, exactly.
Yeah, and that was kind of floated too, just talking within of, yes, if that stays and it's affordable housing and they keep it, and we want to improve that playground, then yeah, 100%. I think that's a viable project. I think,
Yep.
Surfacing and updated equipment to match the probably increased usage. I think looking at it that way is more feasible. But like Jen said, 50 grand to move something that will not be the same when you put it in. Something will always be a little crooked
Yeah.
when you put it in the second time. It would just be a waste of money in my book. So
Yeah.
It's Kristen. First, I just want to apologize for being late. I had this wrong on my calendar, so I accepted a work call. I don't have anything more to say than I think Jen said it all.
I do
And,
too.
it aligns with our facilities plan to maximize the land we have so we don't have to buy more. So I agree.
I agree. I think Jen summed it up very clearly.
Makes sense to me. I don't have the historical background knowledge, obviously, but what you said seemed very logical.
And Kristen, if you're still there, I know I said this in our emails back and forth with you and Jen. Do you think this is something you could bring up at MPC to kind of try to head it off a little bit? I guess the next portion of this conversation, is coming up with how we want to handle it right now. Like, I guess next step to.
It's very good timing. It's very good timing because we have a meeting on Thursday. And as Jen noted, just like our facilities study done a few years back in the master plan, there's no reference to the need for additional playgrounds. Open space, sure, maybe there might be some reference to that, but certainly not playgrounds. And I'll double check that for that. But I mean, we drove the recreation piece of it, so I'm fairly 100% sure nobody else would have stuck that into their sections. So I think the fact that even during the master plan committee process, that didn't come up in some of the feedback, speaks for itself as well. So we meet Thursday, and I'll think about it, Tim, maybe I'll run it by you, but just in terms of how to address it within that call.
Dave, what does the wise old owl say?
Well, I was just gonna say, I was looking at him, I said, give me a nod one way or the other, and he agrees with us.
Okay, good.
And I want him to have the final vote on it too.
I feel like I missed something.
Oh, I had got this as to take care of a bird problem I have under my deck.
Oh,
But
gotcha.
I invited the owl to attend the meeting in case we needed some real sage advice tonight. So he's been listening and he's under a cellophane wrap, so he can't actually nod his head in approval. But I saw him wink at me, so.
Well, make sure he knows about open meeting laws.
Anyway,
Do we
no,
want
so
to,
I do agree.
do you think it'd be worth, I don't know about attending a meeting, but reaching out to conservation as well and just saying we were made aware of this is our plan moving forward? Or
Do you want?
I
me
just
to-
want to hit every angle. So
Yeah, do you want me to, like,
these things.
drop an email? I can send it to the conservation committee chair. I mean, we can drop it to Board of Selectmen and even to master plan, just to let them know that, like, I feel like my point of view is that we're always open to feedback, and if people feel that we need a playground or anything else, like, always open to that kind of feedback, but this has not been on the radar and is not currently planned. I mean, it's not in the facility study, wasn't in the master plan either. So at this
It's
point in
not pressing.
time, we don't feel like there's a pressing need for a playground and that we should be continuing to focus on our other priorities. I feel like we can kind of hit some of those main groups that might be concerned about it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, Rachel, you want to type that up and send it off?
Sure. Definitely should have me responsible for that.
I was talking to Jen. I'm hoping now that the fiscal year's over, we can kind of spend a little more time so it's not so crazy. Get you acclimated.
Sure, that'd be good.
Okay. All right, we had on our agenda to talk about the tennis courts. So Tim, you'd posed that you thought maybe we could add a net to the old state skate park just to bring that court online for the summer as kind of a quick fix.
Yeah, so equipment wise, post sleeves, the post, the net, shipping, be $976.94. The only thing that's outstanding, I just gotta make sure DPW can do it. Mainly just installing those post sleeves into the court, so they're gonna have to break the concrete, set the posts, things of that nature. I think it's something they can do. I just don't want to speak for them. So that's the only outstanding conversation I need to have. I was planning on it, but the whole crew was out at Woodward, so I didn't want to burden them. I am seeing them tomorrow down at Finn though, because of the signage, the new signage for the Shiffrin Field and things of that nature. So while I was there, I was going to kind of two birds, one stone it. But equipment wise, just shy of $1,000 to get that up and running. It's from Pioneer Athletics, so high quality equipment, reputable source, everything of that nature. So that is the cost, again, just without labor, of what it would be to bring that court back online, which people have been asking about. So I know it's wanted.
That's what I would say. I've seen more than probably a couple Facebook posts about, the fact that tennis courts are first come, first serve, and there's only one at Finn. So I think the town will be excited to see that.
Could I ask a question?
No,
So, Kristen, you'll like this. So what about pickleball equipment? Why default it to tennis?
I was just talking to Bonnie Finiff about pickleball. So
I guess for me, this is my dog. Tennis is the easy quick fix, I think, if I'm being honest. I think that's a viable answer. I mean, if we want to do pickleball, we can look into it. We could fit more courts in there. But we would have to line them as well. And I guess we just have to see, Don, now you're putting a wrench in my mind.
I'm sorry, I just.
It's okay. I'm
we
saying if we're, I
I'm
think,
trying to add value.
Can we
I
talk
don't have
about pickleball for a second? It's so Rachel, like back in the day, we used to kind of joke a little bit about pickleball, but now pickleball is very much a
Oh,
thing.
I've played pickleball.
Yeah.
I know pickleball.
okay.
My parents live in Florida, so like pickleball is like a big thing, and it's hard. It's like a good exercise.
Yeah.
So I've got some questions about it though. So two questions. First one, Tim, where can we currently accommodate, or do we currently accommodate pickleball?
Neary. There's 2 courts that are painted down there. And there's a lockbox down there with nets in it. We have one gentleman in town who runs the drop-in league for us. So 3 days a week, they're down there playing in the mornings. And near.
Oh, in the mornings. Oh, I was gonna ask, what about for those of us who work? Is there a drop-in
Well,
league for after work?
Now that we have lights, Don, I've been floating that idea as well. So don't you worry.
So
Everything's fine.
I'm only sensitive to it because for Mother's Day, I bought my wife a pickleball set. So now I'm trying to figure out where we can actually use it, not in my
Don,
driveway.
The second question I have is just, in terms of demographics, because I'm just thinking about like near term, summer coming up, like, do we have any sense of, we have all ages playing tennis out there. And we definitely have complaints about only having the one court on the south side, because it's literally like, you're lucky, you show up, someone's there or not. And then if you are there and someone shows up, then you're kind of like, feeling the pressure. So I tend to be in favor of the second tennis court, but maybe I'm being ignorant to the population that now plays pickleball. Like, meaning I think we have youth to seniors who play tennis. How far has pickleball made its way across all age groups like tennis has?
So I think there's different ways you can look at that. I think that so it's mainly, I would say, from what I'm seeing, like 40 years and plus is playing it in town right now. But like Don just pointed out, really the only time to play consistently is the morning. So obviously kids can't get involved there because they're in school. It doesn't take place on the weekends, anything like that. So there's an untapped piece of it. But at the same time, when I look at Finn, if we were to put pickleball down there, technically they can't really go down in the morning and play because it's during school hours. So, and those courts I know are used by PE, especially the one that's open. And I'm sure if we opened another one, obviously, that would be used as well. So weekend use on a pickleball aspect, yes. I think it could be used, but we need to keep in mind that technically access to the public is 4 o'clock and on, maybe a little earlier if they're lenient.
It's open in the summer though, right? Summertime you'd be able to get
Open in the summer. That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. Yes.
I wonder too if the, I don't know if pickleball is easier if there would be some sort of, well, they're really small kids, so I'm gonna take that away. Strike that. But Tim, do we, only because I hear the conversations, and because I'm involved here, I hear people talking about what happens in Westboro or what happens in Concord, and do we use our field scheduling system for the tennis courts? Said differently, could we use our field scheduling system for the tennis courts to help with if there's a noise about utilization, and is that a possibility? I'm babbling, but I think you get my point.
We already do, and yes, we can.
Okay.
So Neary is scheduled out with a few user groups, some people who do lessons out there. Beyond that, though, it's not like we have something general online of. So are you looking at like reserve your spot?
Exactly. So
Okay.
if there was some noise about like, hey, there's only one court in the south side, and you get lucky if you show up, and then someone feels pressure to finish their game so the next person can play, if you could actually reserve a block, whatever the appropriate amount of time is for a block, would that help alleviate some of the, even would be an issue, Kristen, even if there were 2 courts, I imagine, but would that help alleviate some of the noise?
Yeah.
I think it could alleviate it. I think the issue would be policing it. I don't know if we could, we can't staff it down there and enforce it. Granted, they would go down with the permit and say, look, I registered for this.
Right.
But
If you're already reserving courts, aren't you reserving them for a specific amount of time?
Yeah.
Per user?
Yeah.
In other words, not a block of time for the afternoon or everything, but group A, what do they get? An hour and a half? An hour?
It all comes down to what they want. I mean, I have some people out in Erie, 2 days a week for an hour. For a lesson, I have Saturdays for 4 hours with lessons, things like that. So, but
The
like that,
lessons- Are the people giving lessons paying for it?
yeah, because
Okay.
they're private. They're private. Yep. I mean, so there's a possibility. I mean,
Does private preclude or have more of a priority than non-private?
no, definitely not. So they work around our schedule with that. So like pickleball. I mean, pickleball's blacked out for the times. They have those like times themselves, and school, I know like the gym teachers, they use it and stuff like that. So residents and there'll always be 1, if not 2 courts open to the public. I would never book them all up just because we want to keep them open.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks. You answered my question.
Yeah. So Don, back to that. I mean, I think it would open we could do it. I mean, we have the ability on our end too, where if you want to go for an hour, you don't have to call the office. We can set it up online where you can go in by yourself. You can reserve your time.
Mhm.
If you want to put a fee on it, we can put a fee on it. If you just want it to be free, it could be free. I would
Yeah,
assume
no,
it would be free.
I was just thinking, I was not expecting it to be sort of needed to be policed. It's almost just call it an honor system of some sort. I expect it's probably the same groups of users who are using it. And it would probably result in some sort of, structure to it. If that's really sort of a pain point, that's all, just because we're not going to be able to put 3, 4, 5, 6 courts on that side of town anyway. So if that was a challenge, what I've learned from my sort of investigations is that it's definitely an issue with pickleball. Like, you got to book your time and people come in foursomes and they bring their picnic basket and they get excited about having their hour together. And then, the next group moves in or whatever time they get. So I was just sort of thinking, and I'm a process guy, so that's all.
Yeah, I guess, because I'm a little torn on it, to be honest with you, because devil's advocate is that kind of like basketball, kids are now just doing pickup tennis. Like my son's gone down a couple times and met a friend there and played, and he's not going to have the intuition to say, hey, on Saturday, I'm going to want to play, tennis with Isaac at 1:00. He's just not. So are we going to end up boxing out children? And again, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I just want to offer that as it's tennis is one of those things that kind of borders between a scheduled sport like baseball and soccer versus a pickup sport like basketball, at least on our outside courts. And, we want the youth to have access to. And I think when you start introducing the reservation system, they get potentially boxed out.
I think that's a valid point.
Okay, so here's my thought. So I think tennis is a quick fix to get it online for the summer. I think it's no secret those courts need significant amount of work, to be honest, to repair them. So I look at it that it's screaming CPC. So if we were to, when we do, it's not if we, it's when we do, because we need to fix the cracks, reseal, repaint, we could fit 3 to 4 pickleball courts on one side of that. So if that's something we want to focus on as the trends go forward, it could be a future conversation of, okay, we're going to make one side tennis exclusive, and then we can make the other side, 3 pickleball courts for pickleball only, and they could be like actual nets. So there won't be any fighting to like split a court or anything like that. So maybe long-term that could be the solution there. I mean, even if we put a tennis court, even if we put the tennis net up, we could put temporary lines down going the other way.
Mhm.
So, if our group, like they do now, they have the temporary nets that are provided by us, they're Rex nets that we lock down there. We could do the same down at Finn if we wanted. It would just all come down again to if we want to do first come, first serve, if we want to have, this block of time is specific for pickleball on the weekend or something like that, or Sunday mornings only or something like that. We could kind of go in a temp status with that.
Yep, I wasn't trying to throw a monkey wrench into your plan, Tim. I just was contemplating, since it's a recurring topic. Certainly, and Chris and I joke about it since like the beginning. And my son plays on the Algonquin team, so he plays tennis. So I understand that people like to play tennis. So,
Yeah.
So I get it. But I
No,
also,
but I mean, pickleball's exploding. I mean, Northborough just put up courts. Shrewsbury just built a huge complex.
yeah, Westboro's got
pack.
a great complex over right across from their beach.
Yeah, Millis, we just built one too, and it's packed from morning to night. So.
I'm sorry to interrupt. For all those projects, did they take existing facilities and convert them, or was it new land?
No, so well, for Millis at least, we built a new school, and they took two courts, and they put 6 pickleball courts on it, and it has lights, so that place is popping
Yeah.
every single night. So
You can
I
fit
think
6 on a 2 court.
Shrewsbury
You can fit that in.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I mean, it comes down to lines. So.
Yeah, I think the one in Westboro, Kristen, was tennis. It's over by Chauncey Pond or whatever.
Yeah, I can picture.
And that one, like every so often my son will go do a class at Westboro tennis or whatever. And when I drive by, like Tim said, it's like a party going on.
Wow.
I'm like, how do you get into that action?
You have to read up on pickleball. Tim, future rap course.
There you go.
Yeah, no, we need one. I'll sign up.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
If it's
That's a
out
great
in the
idea.
afternoon or at night.
Well, the fact that the top floor of South Union is literally a pickleball court now tells you it's all of our seniors in the winter. They want to play.
Well, actually,
That's an awesome idea for rap, to do pickleball for rap. That is an awesome idea.
I'd sign my kid up.
Doesn't one full-size tennis court yield, 2 or 4 pickleballs?
At least 2.
Yeah, you can
Right.
get 2 to 3 depending on how you situate it. If I'm looking at
Exactly.
I'm looking at the
Because
design of the one in Westboro, and it looks like they converted the space that would have been maybe 2 courts into 8. They must have had a little extra space. They've got 8 pickleball, according to the satellite, 8 pickleball. And at this point in time on the satellite, they were all being used.
Well, I know, just as an example, with the place I had down in Florida, we had 8 Hartrue courts, and then on the roof of the garage, we had 6 hard courts. And they started out by devoting 2 of the upstairs hard courts to pickleball, and now all of upstairs is pickleball.
Mhm. So I'd like to suggest we make just a motion to support what Tim suggested for this summer. And then obviously we can think about longer term with the CPC. I also think what comes into play here is Lundblad. Like, we still don't know what's up with Lundblad. And I know dog park, if we can't do fields, we know that dog park is one of the things, but like a walking track, maybe, it's a huge piece of land. So you could always potentially put some pickleball up there. Like, I think, there's some questions, but let's get something there for the summer. And I liked Tim's suggestion, so suggest we make a motion to, I don't even know if we need to make a motion to approve it, but I'd suggest we move.
I think just as a matter of policy, I would think that we can just go ahead and do it.
Tim, does anyone disagree with the short-term plan?
No.
Just so we're clear, so short-term wise too, I mean, do you want me to explore getting temp lines down for pickleball as well?
If it's working at Neary, I think that makes sense.
Okay,
I mean, what do others think?
I agree.
Yeah, I think I guess as long as temp makes sense, right? Because ultimately you would have to resurface is what you're saying, Tim, at some point here in the future. So certainly I don't think it has to be, it doesn't have to be crazy.
okay. I'm just thinking too, actually, I bet you gym class would love it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that was my point, but it's kindergarten, first grader. So I'm just wondering if that
Start 'em
works
young,
as
baby.
well.
Start 'em young.
It reminds me of I'm going to make myself sound really old, but it reminds me of when I was in high school, lacrosse was just something that was at prep schools, right? And now, it's everywhere. So is pickleball going to be the next varsity sport?
Oh,
Well, it's also become very popular with the aging tennis players.
Yeah.
yeah.
Tim, do you need us to take a vote?
Yeah, we
Right.
do. Well, we wanted one to support the
Yeah.
expense, right? So we have a motion from Kristen. We have a second.
Second.
Whoever.
Okay. And then a roll call vote. Hanson, yes.
About yes.
Nixon, yes.
O'Day, yes.
Dumont, yes.
Awesome. Alrighty. Then let's see. So next on the agenda, we want to discuss the new recreation van for programming usage. So I think we've talked about this off and on for, I think it's been like a year and a half now. But I know a lot of our discussion earlier, we were kind of waiting to see where things went with the pandemic when we netted out. So wanted to bring back this conversation to tonight and take a vote whether or not we were going to support going down this route, knowing that whatever comes out of tonight, the next step will be reaching out to Capital Planning Committee to let them know of our intent here, and Board of Selectmen per their request last summer to make sure that Capital Planning and Board of Selectmen are looped in to expenses over $10,000. It's just so that anyone watching or listening or wondering, we have fully planned to, follow their wishes, but looking to better understand from the commission where we stand on this rec ban. And maybe I'll turn over to you, Tim, to talk about the van and the use case.
Yeah, so to recap, Don, was it the last meeting we talked about the brown ban?
I was not at that meeting.
Okay, so we talked about the brown van last meeting. It's sat idle for about a year now. Prior to that, as you know, we kind of stopped using it for kids because of safety wise, we didn't feel comfortable having kids in there, so on and so forth. So I worked with Karen, we got it down to mechanic for them to look at to see if we wanted to bring it up to road ready, to get it on the highway again, to get kids in it and use it, what it would cost. And I think they came back with like $7 to $8 grand to get that roadworthy long term or short term, like $1 grand to get it from point A to point B in town. So and then I know we discussed using it just for utility wise, just to kind of lug supplies and equipment from A to B, but facilities has been doing that for us for almost 2 years now. So it's really become a non-issue. So
Is
Anyway,
it presently
so-
registered? Is it presently registered and insured, Tim?
it presently is, yes.
Okay, thank you.
But it will go, we took a vote last meeting. So now it's going to go over officially to DPW. They're going to use it just in town. If they got to get down to like the cemetery or something like that, they're just going to take it. So it'll be off our hands. So looking forward, looking ahead, in the fall. So Rachel, one of our new programs that we started when I came in, we did half-day field trips and weekend field trips, early release trips and things of that nature to pick the kids up from the schools and, you know, take them on a extended day if there was a short day or a ski trip or something of that nature on the weekends. Those took off very rapidly, were very popular. But we were limited to the size of what we could fit in our van. So we always had in our head that we wanted to get a bigger van and another one, so that we could double that capacity of the kids and the parents we bring. You know, we used it for our usual ski trips to Wachusett when we needed, you know, we needed to fit more kids or we wanted to take more kids. We used that. So so I guess, yeah, the talk has always been to rid of the brown van and then replace it with something similar of the white one. A little safe, obviously more safer, more up to date, more confident in the safety of the kids inside of it. It was put on hold because of COVID. I think we were gaining momentum to start exploring it prior to the shutdown, but I'm definitely interested in looking at it again, going about it, I think, in a different way than it was done last time. You know, we can get vehicles off the state bid list similar to the police and fire and everything like that. So, you know, we would make sure that we go through the right avenues to get this one in and under the town. So I'm definitely interested. I guess it was just to gauge everybody else's perspective on it, if we think now is the right time.
Have you, are there a couple of, I guess, two questions. One, just given the market presently, are there even vans available? One, and if so, you know, have you scoped out like the price? And then separately, if not, like, you know, is there a market for, you know, even used equipment, you know, even sort of whatever Fay or St. Mark's deploy or other elsewhere? Like, just have you thought about like the market and availability?
I have, if I'm being honest, I haven't looked into it too deeply. You know, I can go on combines with the state and see the pricing on that. It'll be connected to all the local dealers to see what they'd be willing to, where the prices are. You make a good point about availability, just with vehicles everywhere right now. And then, I mean, I guess it's a price comparison of what a new would be against a used when it comes to that. You know, I think we dished out a pretty penny for the used one, the white one. So I would be curious to see what the cost differential would be on that one.
Yeah, the white one was like 22, I think, for 2022.
Yeah, with a good amount of miles on it.
Yeah.
This is just general, I guess. I admittedly, I have not had the time to dive into it. Plus, as Jen mentioned, we have a lot more gates to go through. So.
I think it's certainly something you need to get the ball rolling on. You are going to need it.
Is there one more question, Tim? I recall from a note, do we have a meeting with advisory coming up on talking about the revolving fund, or are we all set there?
That's been pushed off. They weren't ready to talk about it. So
Okay. Okay.
and I think you make a good point, because I think that'll be a question coming up after the past year we've had. You know, based on what we're seeing with, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, and you know, based on what we're seeing with summer and what we just had with RAP, you know, we're back to turning a profit. So obviously it'll take a little while to make up for what was expended over the last year, but you know, it's coming in consistently. So.
Right, but the van allows you to offer additional programs.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So it ultimately, we would be able to show that it would pay for itself within a whatever.
Yeah.
2 to 4 year span, whatever it might be.
Yep.
there's no question in my mind that we should move forward. I don't, I leave it to Tim on the best way to go about acquiring it, but I think the process should start so we're ready, hopefully, for the school year.
I agree.
So then, and I know even with the last van, like regardless of everything around that, we had put together kind of like what does this look like, break even, what are we bringing in for programming, what is it supporting? So my thought was that we put together something similar to that again, to be able to take that to capital planning and share with them our thought process around the van and how it's driving additional funding for programs.
You may want to consider as well, just to, just to try to head off some questions, but I believe, and this is why I asked if the other van was on the road, is that I don't think they charge you, Tim, for the insurance and the registration, all that.
I believe so. Oh, like my department directly?
Yeah, or it
No.
should be the revolving, not should be, but it would be the revolving fund, right? Because that's what it's used for programs.
If it were charged, it would be, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, whatever we do to determine that it will recover its expense, we should include not only the cost to obtain it, but the ongoing cost to maintain it, so that we have a thorough analysis. And ultimately, if in the future there's more pressure on what costs go where, an allocation or of those costs might be a reasonable middle ground, if you know what I mean, Tim, on some of the questions that come up.
Yep.
I'd just be curious how that all works with DPW and whatnot. We should be in line with however it works with other departments who have vehicles. So I just want to understand how it works there and just fall in line with that. But the other thing I just want to say, and I'm not sure, I'm not sure the right way to put this, but like for the cost justification, I mean, we know that there's going to be programs and we know that they're going to be successful because we don't know, but we have a very good, or REC has a good track record with these programs. Like, it's not all about even profit or even in some cases break even. Like, I mean, I don't think like on its surface, anyone can deny the need for this van, that it will, our history proves that it will serve the community. And one of our, that's one of our goals, right? Is to be able to offer services to the community. So not that we can't get caught up in the financials, but like, I just don't want to lose sight of that, right? Like, we're not we're not out to make money. We're out to serve the community first and foremost. So I hope that we wouldn't get too caught up if we can demonstrate that we can afford it, that we can demonstrate that we can upkeep it. Like, that should be enough, right? Because at the end of the day, we're just trying to provide more service to the community.
I think because we're using the revolving fund, Kristen, I think we need to make sure that we wouldn't ultimately deplete it. I don't think this is, I would agree 100% with you if we were going to the town and saying we'd like the town to pay for it. But if the justification for the van is to support programs that are funded by the revolving fund, then I believe the intent of that program is that it will fund itself. And we wouldn't want to be out buying 4 vans if it didn't cover itself. You know what I mean? I appreciate what you're saying, but I think there's a distinction between the use of those items that are covered under the revolver versus things that might be covered by the town. For example, the salaries of our rec personnel.
Yep. No, fully appreciate. I just, again, it's not a fully formed thought, but is it looking at recreation programs as a whole to justify the cost, or just those that are using the van? Because that's where I start,
Yeah, and I think I don't think it's that we're looking to turn like a profit. I think it's more of a understanding like the programs that would use the van and the fact that like, they sell out, right? Or there's limited capability there. So understanding like what that would allow us to do, like that scenario. So having a second van, what does it mean for programming and how many more kids can participate and what is brought in through that participation? I think will go a long ways to show that the programming will be able start to cover the cost of the van and the upkeep and the maintenance and stuff like that.
Right, and I'm definitely not arguing the logic behind the analysis, of course. Again, I guess where my head is not clear is if we're asking if the programs that will use the van alone will be able to cover it, or will RAC revolving fund be able to cover it as a whole?
Well, I guess then I made an assumption. I assume that the rec revolving fund was going to be utilized for this van. Am I mistaken? Are we actually asking the town for the money?
No, no.
No. I don't mean to cause confusion. I meant when we're doing the analysis, are we going to say, these 5 programs would use the van, and this is the money we're looking that these 5 programs will bring in, and they alone will sustain the cost? Or are we just saying as a whole, the revolving fund all in will be able to sustain the cost? Am I making sense in distinguishing between the two?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
if we're being realistic, the amount of programs we use it for and what we charge, we won't be able to cover that cost. I don't think so. It would need to be built in to the revolving account in general with all programs. And, keep in mind, we do 200 to 300 programs, a year. So, when we're up and running hardcore, 150 to 2 lately to be safe. So, it would just be that cost recovery tool where we think we can make the most bang and support it. So I think we'd have to evaluate all programs and, as related, which we do already for the registration software,
Right.
everything, it's built into every single program that we do to cover those costs and things.
I just want to make sure we are being, fiscally responsible. I know there's lots of questions, and especially in this day and age. And so any sort of disposition of funds, and let's just make sure we're being thoughtful, and we have a bit of a fiduciary responsibility here. And let's just make sure we're checking all the boxes is really my point. That's all.
And I just want to say, Tim, what you just mentioned, I fully support. I think, people who take advantage of the transportation are in different situations, whether it be working parents or what have you. I mean, it's not all apples to apples. And I don't think, Tim, I'm sorry, not Tim, Don, I don't think you're disputing that either. I think we're actually all on the same page. Just making clear that my position is that understanding the programs themselves that use the van wouldn't fully cover it. The revolving fund certainly, I think, will, and I think our analysis will show that. And I just wouldn't want to draw a correlation directly to the programs that are using the vans. Also keeping in mind the vans are used for, to Tim's point, kind of like the software. They're not exclusively used for those programs. I believe they're used to, maybe not anymore, but they used to be used to transport equipment, et cetera.
So I guess next steps, do you want me to start looking into, prices and things of that nature?
I think it makes sense for you to, I think it makes sense to work the quotes, Tim. Whatever sources make sense, and to be thorough about it, given probably the market and limited availability. So, my suspicion is it's going to take some effort, unfortunately.
yeah, and I think we can start to pull together kind of like what that narrative is around the van, and then and we can pull some program numbers and stats even there of like what we've had or in the past or what we'd like to do. And then Don, I think we can pull you in to help review what we've got before we take it further. Could be helpful.
Yeah, and again, I'm sensitive to the last ban, right? So I don't want any, there should be no daylight. We're going to have this thing buttoned up.
Yep. Nope. Agreed. And to one of the comments earlier about the question around insurance and all of that, I actually, Tim, I think that might be a good question to go figure out, because I do recall that being an issue, people being upset that we were adding a van and insurance to the town bill, but the intent was to fully fund it out of revolving, and it was supposed to be. But I do know that was there's a little bit of a cluster back and forth, and I'm not sure if they continue to do that or not. I do believe at one point we were paying for that out of revolving, because we used to have to vote on it. But
I think I think it makes sense to investigate it, Jen, and especially given how I feel like folks are looking at the revolver for other reasons, and
Yep.
I appreciate why they're doing it. And so while I don't want to see it be used for things that are not, for where they're not intended to be, I do appreciate the fact that we should be covering the cost of the programs, right? And so this would be, I think, a pretty straight line cost that would make sense to have to, consider. So I look at it sort of as a, I don't know, middle ground, call whatever you want, but it would be a way to sort of bridge the gap.
Yep. Okay. So then maybe what we'll come back with is more of like an actual proposal for the commission to vote on.
Yeah,
later?
unless you want to say, do we, it is really, I think we would agree that Tim certainly can move to the next step. We have no idea what the quotations will look like at this point, so I'm not sure we would get into the point of, hey, I don't know if we should need to necessarily put a range, but I think whether we have to vote or not, I'd say Tim should proceed with his investigation. If for some reason, Tim, you find like a van just fell off the back of a truck and we got a great deal, then I'm happy to convene quickly to for 5 or 10 minutes to give you further authorization if that's required. But I definitely
Exactly.
think you should be out there digging and looking.
Mercedes only, right? Okay. Cool. All right,
Electric.
Tinted windows.
there you go.
There you go.
No buses.
All right, so then we should be all
So
set.
so Jen, I guess put that on the next agenda and I'll try to
Yep.
get this gradual so it stays to the top of our minds. If we
Yep.
could.
We'll do. Okay, so then, Kristen and Tim, do you want to just give a recap of the naming ceremony of the Schifrin Field at Finn?
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. Beautiful night, beat the weather. Rain was coming in, but it held off. We had about 100 to 150 people show up. Family and friends, selectmen were there. Representative Dykeman was there to read a proclamation from the House. It was a great night. The sign came out great. We kind of started a new relationship with Signorama, who just moved into town. They turned it around in less than a week, and it just came out perfectly. So looking for that was kind of the plus for our department that got out of it. They're going to help us out with some stuff with camp and concerts and things like that. But beyond that, Kristen, you did a great job with your little speech there. But signs will be going up tomorrow, or I'm going out with DPW tomorrow to discuss, finally getting them up. So the public will see them, and it was just great. So Kristen, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I say the same. It started a little early, I think, which that's the only thing I heard. Some people missed it, which honestly, in the grand scheme of things, like, in light of how well it went and it was well organized. And I thought, yeah, I agree. I have nothing to add, Tim. I think you covered it.
And then this past weekend, go ahead, Kristen.
I just want to say, because it seems appropriate, I would kill my kids for saying it that many times, but it was a really special moment. Brian, I know most of you didn't get the chance to work with him, but I know how special, as many of you know, that would be to him. So it just was really appropriate, very emotional, and just I think the town couldn't be happier it happened. So thank you, Tim, and for helping it happen and the signage and all of that. And I can tell you this, the thing that also makes me happy that I think would make him very happy is I won't forget at some point in probably the last year, like when we were going to the planning board and whatnot, talking to someone on baseball, I won't call them out, and being like, it's never going to happen. It didn't happen when I was growing up. It's not going to happen until my, kids are old, and the lights have happened. And so, that's thanks to Brian and Tim, of course, your efforts as well. So just a special night. And it was kind of straddling two things, both the dedication of the field to Brian, but also the success of finally having the lights that he worked for. So just a really nice night. That's it.
This past weekend, you might have saw on Channel 5, the son of the fallen police officer from Worcester played a game on Shiffrin Field this past weekend. There was like 100+ police officers who came to support him, so that was a really cool
Wow.
Cool little spot. Cool, I guess, publicity for it, and seemed appropriate as well.
I did not see that. Was that just by chance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He plays for a club
By
team, I think, or one of the club baseball leagues or something.
Yeah, I think it was Mizuno. They're one of our new little partners out there from this summer. So
Oh, that's
I can send
amazing.
you. I'll send you all the link. I have it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. See, he'd be smiling about that too. I mean, not, just ironic.
All good stuff.
All right, so then next up we had next week, Tim, you guys are planning a kind of like camp parents Q&A webinar.
Yes. All right. I just emailed you all the link. Yeah, so we kind of floated the idea in the office, but and I know we mentioned it too last meeting quickly. So next Wednesday at 7:30 p.m., you're all invited. We're doing kind of like a camp town hall for us. We've been getting a lot of emails, rightfully so, about what camp is going to look like now that all the mandates are going to be lifted next week. All the CDC guidelines, camp-specific guidelines coming from the state, coming from the CDC, everything like that are out, and it kind of flipped what we thought camp was going to be on its head. So we were going to take the time to address that with all the parents and answer any outstanding questions, which I'm sure some people have. But beyond that, we're going to kind of take advantage of it. I have a list here. So all the supervisors are going to be on the call. So they're going to have their chance to introduce themselves to the parents. So they'll kind of see some faces for whoever decides to show up before camp begins. We'll go over things like hours of operations. We'll talk about the facility, kind of the overview of everything we have access to, indoors and outdoors, camper policies, expectations, drop off and pickup, kind of traffic pattern, what we're thinking on that. We do have the daily schedules done, like I said, so we can go over daily schedules, talk about groupings, check in, check out, and then kind of talk about the fun stuff of some of the special events that we have planned and some of the special vendors that are coming in that we haven't made public yet, to kind of get everybody excited for it. So just a chance to connect in some way with as many parents as possible, and to hopefully mitigate some questions that we may be faced with the first day, so things can go a little smoother, and try to cut those off so that our part-timers and things of that nature on our staff on site may not have to field all the questions. So thinking it's going to be an hour, nothing crazy, but again, just a way to get ahead of some of the questions and answer any outstanding concerns. So 7:30 next Wednesday, and Alex will be on the call as well, same with Denise, so we'll all be there.
That sounds great. I'm curious. I'll be the first to admit I haven't read what it means for camp. If you could elaborate a little bit more there.
Yeah, so it's mainly masks. Masks aren't required anymore. So we'll be talking about that. Groupings when it comes to distancing, when it comes to the amount of kids and cohorts, how we're going to handle cohorts. For example, if Don, if your kids go, they're going to be in the same group with the same counselors every single day for that session. So, talking about those types of specifics of taking really what the guidances that we're getting now is recommendations, strong recommendations. They're not, they're not Bible. They're not, this is what you have to do if you're going to keep your license for the camp. They're kind of what they advise as best practices. So we're going to be kind of approaching camp this year as that. We're going to implement as many best practices as we're comfortable with that we think are doable. Some things will just be beyond, I think, our scope. But talking about the masks, talking about the groups, the distancing, again, the facility, the hand washing, the sanitizing, just again from where it was to where it is now, and what we're going to be implementing as an organization. So, and we'll do some things that are above and beyond, and we'll do some things that are status quo of recommendations, just things like that. So
this is kind of new territory, right? We've never been here before, clearly. And maybe this is something you haven't thought through, and maybe this is something, I don't know if this is something we even discuss. Again, no, there's no script for this one on the masks. And maybe this is something you still are discussing internally, and if you want to defer the question, I totally understand, but I'm curious what your thinking is of the masks and the lift of that, given younger kids aren't vaccinated yet.
So the guidelines pretty much is they don't need them outdoors. So we're going to take the stance of masks are welcomed. And if kids want to wear them, we'll encourage it, and we're going to work as best we can with the parents. We've already had a few parents reach out about it, and we'll be sure to, keep an eye on those kids, with the ratios that we have, plus the CITs. We'll have a bunch of eyes on each kid. So masks will be welcomed. They won't be enforced. They won't be mandatory. I know some staff are going to be wearing them, and we'll be providing them. We'll have extras on site as well for anybody who wants them. But like you said, it's new territory. So whatever the kid or the family wants, we'll be here to support it. We're not going to say you can or you can't. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Nope, it
I was
just,
gonna say also, I don't know if it's the conversation you and I had, Tim, or broader, but so the camp is going to be held outdoors, and you're bringing over the big tent, right?
Yep. So we'll have the big canopy tent in the parking lot. So we'll have the shade space outside to keep the kids cool. And going off of, I'm sorry, I missed it, the last part. Anytime we go inside, masks will be required. So if we are inside because of rain, or we're in the classrooms because of rain, things of that nature, then yes, masks will be required. So it's going to kind of be on that things to bring to camp list. Will be, probably 2 masks to have on site. But our goal is to keep them outside as much as possible. If not, because of the size of the tent, we can almost house everybody underneath there if we need to. But they'll be kept outside as much as possible.
perfect. That answers all my questions, Tim. My mind was on the inside portion of the program if you're forced to go inside. And I'm actually really glad that you guys have the option to go inside, because we all know it's like I remember being outside on a rainy day at camp, and so I'm glad that you have that option, but I'm also personally, and obviously this is just a personal opinion, glad that inside you'll be enforcing that.
Yep.
And I can tell you, Tim, my 2 CITs are in the 80% of the kids who have already, well, they've got both their shots, but are in that group of 80% of the kids in Southborough who already got to have at least one.
Good. Yeah.
The
That's
uptake.
kind of the vibe we're getting from staff as well, which is wonderful. But yeah, those numbers are awesome to see that come out today or yesterday from public health. So credit to all those kids.
My daughter got her second today. We were conveniently thinking it was going to get us out of sitting through the whole orchestra and band concert.
They canceled it.
Because she goes first in the entire lineup of 6th, 7th, and 8th. But then
Well,
again,
maybe she won't feel well tomorrow and you can skip it.
Guys, I got a 7:30 appointment. I have to leave, and I don't know if you have any questions for my advisor here, but if not, I'll see you all at the next meeting.
Yeah, so on that note, Dave, so per Mark and everything, meetings now are back in person. So I guess plan on being at the Arts Center for the next meeting, right, Jen?
Sounds like a plan.
Yep, yeah, and actually, I mean, that's the last thing we have on the agenda even tonight anyways, because I know we had master plan committee, but I know they haven't met since we last met. So our next scheduled meeting is for July 13th at 6 o'clock at South Union at the rec center. So,
I have one request. With this new work from home, I'm sure many of you have noticed that the work day has creeped to be longer. So Zooms or WebExes start earlier and they end later. That's why I was late tonight. For some reason, I meant to block that we're starting at 6, so I accepted a meeting invite. I would like to request, and Tim, I know this is an inconvenience for you, but I'm gonna have a hard time with 6 o'clock. If we could consider 6:30, but if that is a major inconvenience to everyone, I will figure it out.
It's fine with me. Make it work.
does that work for others like Rachel and?
6:30 is better. Later is better.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
I can make it work.
Okay,
Tim, we'll just be extra quick. We'll
Yeah.
save the.
Oh. Snacks are on you the first meeting.
I
I've
can't bring my
never been into the
advi-
building.
I
There you
can't bring
go.
my
Excited.
advisor though. I can't bring my
Yeah.
advisor.
Oh, yeah,
Usually
no.
goes hunting at 6:30.
He's gonna be working.
cool. All
All right,
righty,
guys.
Thank you,
then I'll
Dave.
make a motion to adjourn at 7:25 PM.
Second,
All right, roll call vote, Hanson, yes?
Laval, yes.
Okay, yes.
Nixon, yes.
Dumont, yes.
Awesome. All right, have a good night,
Good to
guys.
see you guys.
See you in
you.
person next time.
Great.
Yes.